Parents, teachers, caretakers, grandparents, thank you so much for coming back again and again and again and again. Thank you for shooting some of these questions. If you have questions, any other parents watching this, if you have questions, please send your questions to askgeorgeuncle@gmail.com. Yeah, that's what, askgeorgeuncle@gmail.com. Or many of you are sending it on WhatsApp to me, and you're sending it on social media platforms. And please feel free to send any of those places. I have a very interesting question. My girl has been lately behaving so rudely. She does not respect us, me and my husband. She doesn't even listen to us. She has recently started taking knives and cutting herself. Both of us are scared to an extent. We lock the door every night and we keep the key below our pillow and we go to sleep. I feel for you. And thank you so much for transparently writing this message. Now, again, let's go with the meaning behind the behavior. What could be? I really don't know what the exact situation is and what the scenario is, but what could be some of the possible scenarios or possible reasons why the girl is behaving like this? Now, many a times in all these years of me working with teenagers, many a times the teenagers begin to disrespect the parents and all of that for different reasons. One is one of their coping mechanism. When they disrespect and just walk away, they can just flight. We talk about different coping mechanisms, the fight, freeze, flight, and all of that, right? So they begin to flight. So they disrespect and they will speak something and they will flight so that they can escape. Could be one of the reasons. The other reasons is that they don't see the parents respecting them, which over a period of time they just said, why do I have to respect them? That begins to really make a snowballing, and it takes on to a different tangent. 3, another possible reason of why the teenager doesn't respect is that the teenager is basically maybe now connected to somebody else or something else, or the attachment has been formed with some person or something else other than the parents. I'm talking about attachment, the connection. It has gone into some other places. That's where they don't see that attachment, and they don't even feel bad that they are disrespecting the parents and all of that, Now, one of the underlying rule, one of the foundational rule is this. When the children are very, very young, we need to teach them the non-negotiables. And one of the non-negotiables is respect. They cannot speak back and disrespect. I'm not saying that the children, you don't speak and you be quiet, I need to speak. No, not that kind of a thing, When I say don't speak back, at least they learn to listen. And yes, as parents, we have to stop and have them talk and have them share and have them, respond. But then if they're constantly going to speak back, I'm seeing that several times in several cases right now. When the mother starts talking, they don't even start listening. When the father starts talking, sometimes they're not very bold with the father outside, but from behind they kind of murmur, and it means they're switching off. Here they're not even listening to any of those things. So you need to first come to that place of that calmness. So I'll give you a few practical principles. One, when the child is in argument, or you are in the place of argument, the child is in the fear brain or the survival brain, and in the fear brain, the child actually is alert brain or fear brain. That's what we call it. The child doesn't have access to the logical part of the brain. So the teenager begins to behave that way, or the child begins to behave that way. And the first thing that you need to do is to calm the child's brain, which means you have to use humor, which means you need to maybe leave that issue at that point and connect with the child and calm the child. And then you begin to explain. You need to learn to calm the child, And unless you calm the child with all that humor and all of that, it's not going to help. The other very important thing that we need to look at here is that she's recently started cutting herself, which again seems to be interconnected. You might be saying, oh, how is that interconnected? No, wait a minute. She disrespecting is because could be a mechanism, a coping mechanism of she doing it, or she lost the respect, or she's, attachment is being formed with something else. But here cutting herself just means that she's hurting somewhere deep inside. I was talking to one of the teenagers yesterday. I was counseling a teenager yesterday. And when the parents had brought the teenager, and he had cut himself so much. And this is what he said. This physical pain numbs my emotional pain. I've been bullied so much in my school, and I'm having so much. And every time I get bullied, I come back home and I love to cut myself. And yesterday he was sitting in my room, and on the desk he was putting his hand and he was showing this just so many cuts, so many cuts. See, that's the most important thing. We need to see where the child is hurting, where the child is hurting, because please understand, I've said this several times, hurt people hurt people, which means in this case, because she's hurting herself. If she's not hurting, she would not hurt herself, and that's why she's beginning to cut herself. So we have to find out what's the underlying factor. Sometimes it could be the family issue, sometimes it could be stress inside the home, or sometimes it could be an external factor, sometimes it could be some anxious situations that has come up in school, sometimes it could be one teacher, sometimes it could be a group of friends that's bullying. I don't know what it is. As parents, we need to first find out what that reason is. Because unless we find out what that reason is, we will not be able to successfully intervene into the life of this child. Now, this girl is very precious, very, very precious. So, for you to really connect, I will leave you with this. You getting so scared and say, what might happen, we don't know, locking the door, keeping the key underneath, and things like that. And I know some of the parents have done during COVID that they've even taken the doors away because their children are going inside the door. Recently one of the parents said that they even take the lock out of the door so they can't close the door and all of that. So these kind of methodologies, yeah, you're afraid, you're scared, but I think connect with the child, connect with the teenager, and see how you can start to talk transparently. It's important to talk transparently. Sometimes we don't want to touch. We all know there's an elephant inside the room, but we don't want to talk about it. I think it's important to talk. Now again, don't talk all of a sudden and let a tsunami come up inside the house. No. I think we need to be very careful on how we open up and talk. We need to condition the teenager. Please remember, at the end of the day, you are an adult, and this girl or any other boy is a teenager, and they are young. So we need to be in that place of authority to be in control. We can't get scared. We can't sit in their anxious thoughts and hearing all of the different stories and say, my child also might become like this, my child might can do this and could do that, and all of that. No, let's not walk by fear. Let's walk by faith. But at the same time, we need to connect with the teenagers. Let's connect with this teenager and see what's going on at the background of this girl. Why is this girl doing it? Spend some time, do some things. I was very blessed with one family that came for counseling, and the mother had said this, and she's a master's PhD kind of a person, and she just recently resigned her job because she just said, I want to be with my daughter. She's a teenager. I want to give my time, and I'm seeing my daughter's life is going in a different direction.